Alright, REWAD, everything REWAD live. We still on the live, remember? Y'all forgot? Or did y'all black out on me again? Come on, bro. Y'all better stop doing that shit, man. Come on, man. Cause y'all be throwing me off, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, D4VD, everybody. Yo, I did not realize, bro. Like, try it on your AI companion, bro. I don't even think the word D4VD, like, I don't even think your PC is allowed to say that, bro. Because literally, I was trying to find some shit out, like, with my co-pilot right there. It might be my co-pilot. I was like, yo, co-pilot, say D4VD. It was like, sure, I can say that. No problem. He was like, D5VD. I was like, wait, say that again, bro. Say David D4VD. I was like, sure, no problem. D5VD. I kid you not, bro. I kid you not, bro. I kid you not. This is crazy. Oh wow, okay, cool. David right here, right? The warning signs nobody saw. So it's the psychological analysis of the whole situation. You know, it's J Wisdom. I feel like I'm gonna have to disclaim this with all segments, bro. You know, we know I'm not defending anything. It's not no devil's advocate for nothing over here. It's not confirmation claims for anything over here. We are here simply analyzing the psychology of this man, right? Being accused of these heinous things. He is held in custody right now, from my understanding.
5th, 2025.
So yeah.
So 3 days later. On top of that.
Oh shit. As it stands right now. So it's the conversations between him and Celeste. So at this point, I think it was April 22nd, 2025, when the whole, you know, back and forth to a point where Celeste was like, okay, now she was threatening to expose everything that was going on with David because they were having the, you know, some sort of argument or whatever. I'll let J Wisdom like break every single detail down for us, right?
Shit publicly and destroy his music career.
Yeah.
His debut studio album Withered was scheduled for release April 25th, 2025.
Okay.
So 3 days later. On top of that, he had a multi-million-dollar career, active endorsements, and a world tour booked. The prosecution alleges that at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, David ordered an Uber to transport Celeste from her Lake Elsinore home to his Hollywood Hills residence. She arrived at approximately just after 10 p.m. The prosecution alleges that shortly after her arrival, David stabbed her multiple times and stood by while she bled out, making no attempt to call emergency services. At approximately 11:30 p.m., he drove north on the 101 freeway to Santa Barbara County, texting and calling Celeste's phone as he drove. A pattern the prosecution characterizes as a deliberate attempt at a cover story. He returned home early on April 24th, went to a radio interview for the album, and attended the album release party later that evening. The prosecution then documents evidence of David's poor attempt at concealing the crime and dismembering her body, which he then left in the front trunk of his Tesla.
Damn.
Placed her body in the
Oh, and then that's the point at which he just like, that's the point at which he left it there for days. I think it was for weeks, bro.
Inflatable pool heat ordered to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, and used a chainsaw to cut off her limbs.
Surveillance footage confirms David drove his Tesla for the last time on July 29th, 2025, before parking it on Bluebird Avenue in Hollywood Hills and departing.
He parked it there
for his concert tour. And this is the alleged story.
Also, he was creating an alibi by parking it there, doing the radio shows while he's doing all these things. You know, and eventually going to tour, making it seem like, yo, I wasn't even around in the first place. What y'all talking about? I was on tour the whole time.
We have so far on how David potentially murdered Celeste and then continued with life like nothing happened.
Damn.
The following analysis I'll give is based on if the evidence presented by the prosecution is factual and proven. And it's just my opinion.
Right.
But the first thing that I believe to be true is that David demonstrates a dark triad personality. The dark triad is a mix of 3 personality constructs.
Wait, what's that? Narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy.
Narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, identified in psychological literature as co-occurring and collectively associated with manipulative, exploitative, and callous interpersonal behavior.
Right.
And I believe all 3 appear relevant to David's documented behavioral profile.
Yeah.
Narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is characterized by grandiosity, a persistent need for admiration, entitlement, and a lack of genuine empathy. Subclinical narcissistic traits, which don't meet the full diagnostic threshold but are clinically meaningful, are observable in David's behavior across multiple domains. The construction of an elaborate multi-persona identity architecture, the use of a child as a participant in his artistic and fantasy world, the apparent expectation that normal rules, including the laws, didn't apply to him, and the documented use of financial
the laws didn't apply to him. That's what he told himself. That's what he made himself believe.
resources to purchase compliance from multiple parties,
right,
like Celeste's classmates and potentially others.
Oh yeah, with the whole using money to coerce Celeste, like buying her a phone and stuff like that, knowing damn well that Celeste is having troubles at home. Nobody's buying her a phone. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's still got her best interest at heart, quote unquote. Damn, quote unfucking quote on that. Best interest at heart. You know what I'm saying? So he was playing that role too,
rather than just accepting social or legal constraints. He continued pursuit of Celeste after direct law enforcement contact, despite being explicitly told that she was a 13-year-old runaway, which just demonstrates how important he thought he was. Narcissistic individuals frequently exhibit a belief that ordinary legal and social constraints are obstacles that apply to others, but not them. Machiavellianism refers to a strategic, manipulative orientation towards interpersonal relationships.
Oh, so the whole, with the narcissism thing, right? So the whole, okay, it doesn't apply to you. So whenever they tell you, yo, bro, she's super underage, stop what you're doing right now. I was like, nah, bro, what the fuck you mean, dog? Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? So that whole notion.
In simpler terms, using,
and bro, I'm not gonna lie to you, right? So okay, let's think about like self-help and things like, yo, put yourself first, right? And narratives where it's like, yo, be selfish, it's okay. Narratives like this to the extreme too. Look, man, self-preservation is something that's like it's natural, bro. You always gonna want to protect yourself when it comes to like back against the wall type of situation. You're gonna, it's your survival. You're like, your own survival does matter first, you know what I'm saying? So that you can be able to assist others around you on how to survive the same way you survived, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to spin that diplomatically right there, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to situations where it's either my life or yours, come on, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but at the same time, bro, it's like, yo, there's a certain level of self-help, the self-help corner, self-help pocket of people, or online, or talking heads, things like that, that promote this kind of like, self-preservation, just grandiosity to a point of this extreme, bro. Now, what's got me thinking about things a little deeper is the fact that David was like this and he got caught. Now imagine a whole bunch of, because I know a lot of people that live like this, bro. They got this NPD going on, but it's like nobody sees their darkness though. Maybe the difference between them and David is that they can hide their tracks a little too perfectly. Now I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm just saying, like, how many people have this sort of character trait, like NPD, narcissism, like the whole grandiosity thing, right? It's just things die in the darkness with other people.
Others as instruments towards personal goals. Maintaining Machiavellianism refers to a strategic, manipulative orientation towards interpersonal relationships. In simpler terms, using others as instruments towards personal goals, maintaining multiple social presentations simultaneously, and planning several steps ahead in your devious plans. David's documented behavior across the 2022 to 2025 period is consistent with this profile. The staged disclosure of his relationship that was sufficient to lend his music credibility, but not enough to expose it, the financial management of witnesses, the claimed media training of a minor to manage his public perception, and the fake name he used on the Amazon purchases when trying to cover his murder trail. Psychopathy is characterized by reduced fear response, diminished empathy, shallow affect, and the capacity to engage in harmful behavior without the guilt and anxiety that normally regulates such behavior in normal individuals. What's actually happening in the brain is reduced amygdala reactivity, meaning the internal alarm system that makes violence psychologically hard to deal with is significantly reduced. David's deliberate desensitization program beginning at 14, his awareness of this process, saying, I watch gore to desensitize.
Yeah, it was all that gore talk, all that love for gore. What's all that gore shit?
The part of my brain that feels empathy to the wrong things, and his ability, if the allegations are accurate, to attend a radio interview and album release party within hours of the alleged murder are all consistent with elevated psychopathic traits. The prosecution's timeline describes someone who moved through the alleged crime and its immediate aftermath in a goal-directed, organized manner, without visible emotional disruption to his public functioning. He saw the murder and the cleanup as a task to get out the way, rather than a major disturbance to his life. It's important to note that psychopathy exists on a continuum. High psychopathic traits do not predict violence on their own. They represent a reduction in the internal constraints that make violence improbable for most people. You can definitely have psychopathic traits and go through life without killing anyone. But if you had to, or if you believed you had to, it wouldn't be hard for you to mentally process.
Oh no. Now, as I'm saying, that was my whole little question. Like, imagine the amount of people that have this trait, bro. Shit, you may have this trait watching this right now, huh? And not be aware of it, maybe. No?
The best way I see fit to analyzing the rest of his psychology is by answering some common questions surrounding the case.
Let's go.
The first is, was David born with psychopathic traits, or did the environment shape him like this? The evidence doesn't support a simple nature or nurture answer, and the research literature on psychopathy doesn't even need one. Studies on antisocial personality disorder, which is the more official diagnosis with traits similar to psychopathy, have found that genetic predisposition is a real factor, but it's not determinative, meaning genes do play some part, but it needs more than that. What the developmental history suggests is that David likely had some dispositional features like his elevated sensation seeking, a reduced fear response, a natural tendency towards social observation over social participation that interacted with a profoundly adverse developmental environment.
Okay, so here's another thing that's important that I'm learning about the psychology, where it's like you have a reduced fear response about you, right? And you completely desensitize yourself to those kind of emotions, you know what I'm saying? They're only there to regulate that you don't do anything stupid at the end of the day. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes fear is not, all bad, bro. Especially with this generation of men that's growing up these days. Hey, you better fear nothing. You know what I'm saying? You better be like all tough and all this, that, and the third. I ain't gonna lie, you might have the the fate of this nigga David. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you gotta respect the fact that you got fear in you. You know what I mean? And it's the kind of fear where it's like, yo, I know I'm finna get deleted. I'm gonna reach the end of my being. That's why I gotta stay away from this. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even have to look at it as like pussy behavior. Really, it's literally like, yo, I respect the laws of nature enough to know that, you know what I'm saying? For example, like, no matter how my imagination tells me I can fly, jumping off of this building is the end of me right here and now. Literally. You understand, like, type shit. So it's like, no matter how you think no matter how think you may be beyond the situation, no matter how you may think you are, bigger than a program, you're not, you know what I'm saying? And your acknowledgement of that, your awareness of that, you know what I'm saying? And you behaving according to that, you know what I'm saying? That's not pussy behavior, okay? We gotta understand that. That's that healthy fear that gets you away from making the most stupid decision of your life. Literally, bro.
The isolation he experienced in homeschooling removed the social components that normally regulate and redirect dark impulses in adolescence.
Sure.
Such as peer feedback, mentorship, romantic experience within age-appropriate contexts, and the reality testing that comes from genuine reciprocal relationships. Basically, when you're in school and you're weird, people are going to tell you you're weird, and they're not going to be friends with you, and that's going to cause you to not be weird.
Right.
The gore consumption, the fantasy elaboration, and the emotional desensitization program didn't occur despite his isolation. They occurred, most likely, because of it. Any genetic psychopathy predisposition might have stayed more muted in a more socially connected environment.
Yes.
But David was given 5 years of uninterrupted space in which to develop it without correction. The next question is, if many children experience homeschooling, many children watch gore, and many children watch anime, and they don't become violent, then why was David different? The answer is not any single
No. Okay, wait, look. Here's my whole way of putting that question, right? It's not and if all of them kids are not violent, what makes David different? It's like, yo, maybe David's difference is that he messed up in hiding, in his lack of hiding the thing in the way he wanted to hide it, and so obviously now things are out in the open. I feel like it's a whole lot of these kids that might be on this kind of behavior, and I know it's like that's like such a dark way of seeing the world we live in, but it's like it's a whole bunch of Davids out here, bro. I believe that it's a whole bunch of Davids out here, and this is my own like just way of seeing this, right? It's just that the difference between other people and David, these other niggas may have like impeccable ways of hiding the shit. I would just, you know what I'm saying? He was just like tripped up off of his own way of like, and thank goodness, right? Thank goodness that he is a clumsy motherfucker when it comes to that kind of thing. Cause now imagine he's still out there, nobody catches him, he's still out there, and he hit his tracks like perfectly. How many people die without a trace? You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Factor, but the specific combination and timing of factors and the absence of mitigating ones. 3 elements distinguish David's profile from the general population of adolescents who share some of his experiences.
What is it?
First, the duration and completeness of his social isolation was extreme. Not partial homeschooling with peer contact, but 5 years of near total isolation during the precise developmental window where identity and empathy are formed through
So homie didn't go like, homie didn't go out to the mall or anything like that, and go, you know, maybe to the park, you know what I'm saying, after school hours, because school hours, okay, you learning whatever you're learning, you're by yourself, but didn't he at least have those, like, sometimes I'll be questioning the parents too at the same time. You gotta do that. Cause why don't you, y'all, his parents seem to be studious people, right? People who are learned and everything like that. And so their level of intellect should be, you know, nice and decent for them to understand that, yo, this kid, bro, they're always by themselves, bro. At least you find a way, maybe drive them to the mall, drive them to, you know, what's it, sports fields, like sports parks or whatever, where he can intermingle with like everybody else, bro, so that he can be able to see how to be amongst other people, bro. You know what I'm saying? This guy probably had no sense of like how to respond to his emotional setup, this, that, and the third, because he wasn't even enough people for that to happen, for him to see a way of how he could deal with people. You know what I mean?
Reciprocal relationship. Fair enough if they let him go to some sports clubs and he got to meet people weekly.
That's what I'm saying.
But he was completely alone.
Yeah.
Second, his response to that isolation was not passive, but active, as he built an increasingly elaborate internal fantasy world in which violent romantic narratives were central, and he deliberately used that period to pursue desensitization by watching gore videos. Third, and perhaps most critically, nothing corrected the trajectory. There were no peer relationships to provide reality feedback. There were no teachers or mentors who intervened. When his dark material reached the public, it was celebrated. When law enforcement contacted him directly about a 13-year-old runaway, he found a way around their intervention. The system of natural corrections that normally checks and redirects deviant development failed at every point. Another question is, with his fantasies and music content, did David always have a lust for murder, or did circumstance just cause him to kill in that moment? Neither characterization is fully accurate. Despite how wild our minds like to run with conspiracy, evidence doesn't support a long-term conscious plan to murder Celeste. There's no indication he groomed her with killing in mind from the outset.
But what about the music, bro?
Evidence does support is a sustained internal world in which romantic relationships and fatal violence were thematically intertwined, in which he had deliberately engineered his own emotional desensitization to that violence, and in which he had repeatedly rehearsed through his music videos, through lyrics, fantasy, and alter ego construction, the psychological experience of killing a partner and feeling nothing. Whether or not he consciously intended to kill Celeste, he had spent years building the psychological infrastructure that made it executable. The prosecution's alleged motive that he was silencing a threat to his career is entirely plausible as a proximate trigger, but the proximate trigger ignited something that had been laid down over a long period of time. A person without that psychological infrastructure, confronted with the same threat, would not have had the same response. They might have offered to talk about things, maybe to pay her off, or something, but not murder. A very common question is, why did he leave the body in his Tesla and then just go on tour? Was it narcissistic overconfidence or something else? There's the theory that he wanted the body to be found, so
Oh god, there's a theory that he wanted the body to be found. What? Okay, I don't know. I would chop it up to just like maybe the oversensitization of like, you know, his internal world because of what's going on. And now he's overwhelmed with everything. So I don't know, man. I don't know, dog. Yeah, okay, nah. Let me hear your psychological thing, bro. We'll just go with that, buddy. But before we carry on with that, I think moment of silence for the incision.